Hello for anyone that's in here. Let's see. I'm just trying to get settled here, wait for other people to get inside. There we go. We got some more in here. We have 5 more minutes till we'll get started. Let me know if you have any issues hearing me. Will do. Thank you, Dusty. We've got 3 more minutes, so we'll just hang in there until more people join us. Hope everyone is having a good morning. Feeling good today. It's Thursday, almost Friday. Yay! This is definitely different from any other conference I've ever been to. I wish I could see you all in person and talk to you face to face, but we got to do what we got to do, right? I'll be right back. We still have a couple more minutes. Bring a little bit more light there. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Glad that the audio is sounding good. I'm going to get started in just a minute. Definitely check out those polls at the end. I'm very curious to know if this was helpful to you, if you enjoyed my presentation. I love speaking, so I'm really excited to be here and to do this. This is fun for me. And even better, being on a webinar at home, I get to wear my fuzzy socks. All right, so it's about 10 a.m. Maybe I'll give it one more minute since this is the start time, see if anybody else joins us, and then we'll get started. I am going to go ahead and bring up my presentation. Up there. Make it small on my screen, but it should look good for you. Just another minute. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited. This is going to be really fun, I think, and interesting for you. Whether you're a realtor wanting to take better photos on your phone that's my website, katiealvarez.com. That's my business website. And then I included my kind of my hobby website, tinydisneydetails.com, and I'll share a little bit about that in just a minute. So I will go ahead and just introduce myself, a little bit about me. I have a bachelor's in communications. I worked for USF, BYU Idaho, and even the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. I have a 2-year-old daughter who's adorable. And I have obviously my husband and 2 dogs. So hopefully they're quiet while I talk to you today. I run my own business, which is that katiealvarez.com. It's now KT Media and Designs. That is where I do a lot of my photography, video, and more for real estate photography and video as well. And then I also just started my own Instagram and YouTube for a hobby. I really, really love Disney. So I decided to start that in June 2020 when we were all locked up for COVID. And that way I could share some tips and tricks for families wanting to visit Disney World either soon or after COVID has passed for all of us. So that one is the Tiny Disney Details on Instagram. The really exciting thing about it is I just started it in June, and now I already have 3,000 followers. So I'll have a lot to talk about social media later today. You'll definitely want to attend that class if that's something you're interested in. There's a lot of things that I've implemented into practice myself that have shown success. So I'm going to share that later with you today. But if you're interested in seeing more of that, that is my handle for Instagram. And so overall, I have done video and photography for over 10 years now. And it's something that I really, really love to do. And so I'm really excited to share more about that with you today. So first off, what we're going to talk about today is I want to compare cameras because I want you to see exactly why use a phone camera and why use a professional photographer with a DSLR. Then we're going to talk about some basic photography principles to always follow that will help your photos to just look better. The don'ts, editing, which is a huge, huge step and something that most people miss. And I'll show you examples of that too. We'll talk very briefly because I said I'm talking about social media later, but I think these just go so hand in hand that I'm going to take it a little further and we're going to talk about posting it on social media. And then I'm just going to touch base on a couple of apps to make it easier that you can write down, and then how I can help you and answer any questions. So some examples of what realtors have actually posted on MLS. I don't even know what this is. But there's this weird scarecrow cow thing. I think it's supposed to be a cow dressed up in this person's kitchen. I don't know why the realtor did not think of moving the object out of the photo, because the kitchen itself looks great, but they kept it in there and they posted this on MLS. So it's a little shocking. Some other examples of things people have posted. I hope you get a good laugh out of these. The one on the right was obviously an empty home that they thought, oh, let me add in some of my own ideas of what this home could look like. Very, very poorly done and very distracting. You don't even like see the actual home. And then the one on the left, I don't know if it's Halloween or if this person just really likes skeletons. It's very confusing and very distracting, and it makes the room look really just kind of gross. So I'm sure some of that was probably hard to just move because that big skeleton dinosaur looks very heavy, but maybe the realtor should have tried to pull at least a few of those things out, or tried to have taken the shot without that skeleton being in there, but that was posted. Twilight photos are definitely trending, but this realtor thought I could do it on my own, and it didn't go so good. Obviously, the oven was missing in this kitchen. Oh, someone just said we see these all the time on MLS. Oh, this is so sad. I was hoping that wasn't going to be the case. But these are the kinds of pictures I want to teach you to avoid. Here's another one. This realtor must have thought, I don't need a professional photographer. Let me just take my own. And I mean, the only reason you can tell it's a bathroom is because the toilet paper is in there. So we're going to talk about how to avoid those types of images. And that way your MLS listings look top notch, even if you have to take any photos on your own. So first, let's compare DSLR versus an iPhone, because phones have come a really long way. They really have. I have the 7 and it's great, but even now with the new 12 Plus Pro, I mean, it's insane. So first off, I want to show you, here's an example of a DSLR versus iPhone. So the two on the left, you can see are the DSLR cameras. And you can see above them, there's these little squares. Those are the sensors. You can tell that the full frame is a big, large square. And that's as big as it gets. The one next to it is cropped. It's a cropped camera, DSLR. And I didn't even think about it. I should have picked up my DSLR to show you. I have a crop. But what all that means is that that sensor is just being cropped just slightly. And I'm trying to keep up on any comments or questions you have. And then you see a point and shoot camera. Well, that sensor drops significantly. And then the iPhone is the smallest. And it makes sense. I mean, our phones are not very large. So the sensor in the camera phone has to be very, very tiny. But I'll tell you why this is important. When you have a full frame sensor in that large square, you're seeing that the image is getting reflected onto that sensor. Well, that's a lot of information that gets to be kept. Whereas when you get a small sensor on your little iPhone, well, there's going to be detail and information that gets lost. I'll show some more examples throughout, but I'm sure you've even noticed when you take a picture on your iPhone, sometimes it can look a little grainy, or it won't compensate really well for lighting. Well, full frame cameras are able to do a lot more with that. So here's some examples. On the left is an iPhone picture. It's not a bad picture. It looks decent. But then when you compare it to the one on the right, well, wow, that looks amazing. So this is kind of a good, better, best situation. The photo on the left is good. It's an iPhone photo and it's good. Could it be made better? Absolutely. It can be made better through editing, which is what we're going to talk about later. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you take a good image on your iPhone, great, but make it better through editing. But if you want the absolute best, well, you use a professional photographer with a DSLR. Now, I will tell you that photo on the right, that is a DSLR photo, but there's a lot that goes into that. A lot of work goes into that, more than you would think there is. You have to do an exposure for the window, and then an exposed picture for the room, and then you have to take a light. There's a lot of work that goes into it that once they get into Photoshop and they start putting everything together, they're basically piecing a bunch of photos together to make that image. which is really hard for just anybody to learn, to be honest. But like I said, if you can't have that at that moment, your iPhone is a good option, but there's ways to make it better than that left photo, and we're going to talk more about that today. Here's a few other examples. The photos on the left are iPhone photos. Like, again, not terrible. They could be made a much, much better with editing, but when you compare them to the ones on the right, those are the professionally done photos, and they definitely enhance the image by a lot. But with editing from that iPhone photo, you can almost get a perfect good in-between photo that would look decent. Let me give you another example. This is a really good graphic I found online that really explains well the difference between the two. The iPhone 7 Plus is on the left. Now, it doesn't look like a terrible image, but when you think about it, and especially when you compare it to the one on the right, well, you'll notice in the bullet points there, it's missing features like the double oven. It couldn't get wide enough. Now, I do want to say new phones like the 12 can go on a wide feature, but one thing that you don't see here that would happen on your 12 is it distorts the image. It makes it look fisheye. It'll make it look too wide and just distort the image where it looks like the room is longer. Whereas with a wide lens on a DSLR, it'll just capture more of the room, but it won't distort the image. You'll also notice on the left, there's poor lighting, making it look like a small space. It appears dark and cramped. Whereas the one on the right with a proper wide angle lens on the camera, you can make that room look crisp and bright, detailed. It looks balanced with lighting. I will say, I would have done something differently with this image if it were my own. I would have exposed the window to be clear and see-through, whereas in this person, just let it be a little overexposed. So that's something that could have been done differently in this photo, but it's a much accurate portrayal of the kitchen than the one on the left, and it looks a lot better. And then your typical MLS shot versus a professional image. And it appears, according to Dusty, that is pretty common, and that's a little sad. So let's avoid that. Here's just an example of some of the images. I took these images are my own. These are just of ones that I recently took, the most recent house. I just had been editing them, so I thought I'd throw them in here so you can get an example of a little bit of my own work. But as you can see, the lighting looks very well balanced. You can see more of the room. Now, some of these images are cut off in order to like fit here in this slide. But if you could see the full image, it would show the entire room, and it would look very nice and balanced and colored. So these are just one of those examples of how it could be done better or best in that good, better, best situation. Okay, if we don't have any questions on that, I'm going to keep moving on. We're going to start talking about basic principles of photography to always follow. The first one is the rule of thirds. I don't know if many of you are familiar with the rule of thirds, but these grids can easily be turned on your phone. I even show you how to switch the grid on for an iPhone and for a Samsung phone. So those instructions are right there for you. But this is how the rule of thirds works. Basically, what you want is your points of interest, whatever you're photographing, to fall along those lines, the grid lines, or more importantly, at the intersecting points. So, for example, with the dog, you can see that the dog's head meets at an intersecting point. And even better, the top of his head down to his body falls down that line on that rule of thirds. What it is it's a balancing. It's an eye-appealing thing. Our eyes are just built to find that appealing and to read that way. Now you would think, okay, well, that might be easy to do with a person or an object specific, but what about like just overall landscape? Well, that's why I included the landscape photo at the top. Sometimes it can't be exactly done perfectly like this photo, but it does help. So you'll see that the top of the mountain nearly meets the point of that intersecting point, but the mountain line goes down that intersecting line. The waterfalls start to meet at that other intersecting point. And then the river kind of curves with the line, and that's a leading line right there. You like that river curve there. But these are just principles that you can apply even into your own home. And I'm going to go more into detail about how to even set up your shot when you're taking pictures of a house. And before I get into all of this, I do want to say, I understand how you may need to take photos on your own. You get a new listing, you want to get it up on MLS quickly. Well, the important thing is to take maybe really great shots, as good as you can on your phone, of a couple of maybe interior shots and definitely that exterior so you can get your listing up. But then replace those if you hire a professional photographer within the next day or two and put those better photos up, because they really will help sell that house faster. Great images sell much faster. I've seen that work. Okay. And like I said, again, if anybody has any questions as we go along, just feel free to ask them. So basic principles to always follow. First off, set your camera focus. That's easily done by just tapping the screen. You tap the screen and on the object or the place that you'd like it to be the sharpest, and it will re-sharpen or focus on that area. The second thing, avoid zooming in. I can't stress that enough. On an iPhone, when we talked about that little sensor, it's all about how the detail it's getting. If you zoom in, it's going to distort that information. It's going to make it look grainy. It's not going to be as sharp. It might be blurry, especially if you're a little shaky. So avoid zooming in at all times. If you need to get closer, just walk closer. Use as much natural light as possible. This is really important. That light outside is just natural light. That's what we're all used to. And it really does make things look better. But if you're in a house and you don't have a light, make that light outside work for you. I wouldn't say open up all the blinds, but I would say definitely open the shutters. Let in as much light as possible. And I'm sure you would probably be able to tell me that what's important to a lot of people is a lot of natural light coming into a house. You want to let in as much natural light as possible, even in those photos. Set your exposure manually. I know it's an option on the iPhone. I'm not entirely sure on a Samsung. I'm sure it is though. Basically, and I put instructions here on how to do that. When you hit to focus your camera, you'll see on the side, there's a little line with a little sun icon on it. If you hold down on that sun icon and slowly scroll up, it'll brighten your image. Slowly scroll down, it'll darken the image. So if you're in a really dark house, it's cramped, there's not a lot of light, use that option to help bring in some more light into the image you're about to take. Or if it's too bright, bring it down. You don't want to lose any detail with it being too bright. So you got to pay attention to those things. If you have a newer iPhone and you have a wide feature, use it when you can. I know it does distort the image, but it really does help to show off more of the room. And like I said, this is just one of those, use it while you can until you can get a professional photographer to take better photos for you. But when you can, use the wide feature. If you don't have the wide feature, that's okay. But I do want to let you know that you can buy lenses for your phone. They just connect right there on your phone. Moment is a company that creates lenses specifically for phones and all sorts of different phones. And they do have a wide lens that you can put on your phone. So if you are interested in buying those, there are options out there for you to make your phones go a little wider. Always shoot in landscape, especially in real estate. You always want to shoot in landscape. I would say on the other side, if you're shooting for yourself, for family, for your Instagram, a picture of you, go vertical. But anything with real estate, stay landscape. Take your photos. This is a big question. Where do I stand when I'm taking my photos? Take your photos like you're giving a tour of the house. So when someone walks into the kitchen, what angle are they coming to see the kitchen for the first time? Or when they walk around the island and they look at the kitchen from another view. Take photos from those angles rather than standing in the very far corner of the room to take the picture. Also, I want to add on to that. I didn't put this on here, but when you are taking the photos, what height do you put it at? Well, the most natural height is actually 5 feet. So I'm actually 5'4". I put even my DSLR, I put it at around my chin level. So if you're really tall, figure out where you might be at 5 feet, but 5 feet is a natural level for most people to see at. So put your camera level at 5 feet high. This is another big one. Make sure all artificial light is consistent. So what I mean is right now, my LED dining lights are on and all my windows are open. So now the light looks the same color. You see some shadows because it's not as bright over here. I'm pretty far from my windows. But if my light was a very yellow light, it would look very unbalanced. You'd have yellow shadows with a white light coming at my face. It looks completely unbalanced, very uncomfortable. It's the same thing when you're taking photos. You'll notice the photo on the right in this presentation does not have any of the lamp lights on. I'm sure the reason is that those lamp lights were probably a yellow light. So if you have your windows open and you're turning on all the lights in the room, if any of those lights are yellow, turn them off. The only exception I would say is if there really is not any good lighting coming into that room. So like say you go into a bathroom and you're getting some light coming in from the outside, but it's very yellow in the bathroom. Well, you really just don't have enough light coming in to brighten that room up, then maybe use the yellow lights. But when possible, make sure your light is balanced and consistent. Check your mirrors. Make sure you're not reflecting in those mirrors or any weird objects. When you're taking shots outside, make sure you are minimizing the street in your exterior shots, pretty simply said. And then finally, this is something I would tell you even to tell your clients before you have a professional photographer come, is always stage your set. So when possible, try and not have any holidays in the shots. You want to make it timeless. So I understand Christmas trees are really hard to move. You're probably not going to move those, but if there's a bunch of little holiday decor, like pillows on the couch or a little table decorator, maybe move those before you take those shots. But the biggest thing is decluttering. And there's a rule. Usually you do not want to have more than 1 to 3 decor items in an image. You want it to look like the people that lived there before were pretty much like minimalist. You want the house to look very clean and clear. And so before you go take those shots, try and move things out of the way. Remember, so you can put them back where they go. I do that a lot when I take my photos. Or even if you can talk to your clients beforehand, tell them, hide whatever you want, clean up, put anything you need to in the closet or the pantry. We don't typically take images of those areas unless they're really like amazing closet features to really sell off. But when possible, just have your clients clean up the house, mow the yard, make it look as great as it possibly can, because the last thing you want to do is put up an image of a dirty room. And that's going to actually move us into our don'ts. So number 1, don't leave personal items in the frame, purses, laptops, anything like that. Number 2, don't photograph a dirty space. Those do not look good on MLS like we saw in some of our example photos. Don't leave cars in the driveway when you're taking your exterior shots. And don't include pets or their items. So dog dishes, bowls, beds, cat litter boxes, cat toys, move them out of the shot. It does not take that much work to just move it, take your shot, and then just put it right back. And then big one, do not assume anything can be edited out, because honestly, most of the time it cannot be. Okay, so now the biggest part is editing. And I'm going to show you exactly why. You're going to see some really good examples that are going to make you go, wow, that really does make a huge difference. But first I wanted to say editing, the Lightroom mobile app is the best one that I've used. And I use it all the time. Even as a professional photographer, I use Lightroom. And guess what? The great thing, it's free. We all love the word free. Lightroom is an Adobe product, and if you have it on your desktop, it is a subscription. I have that too. But when I need something to quick edit on the go, I have it on my phone, and it is a free app for anybody. And it's really simple to use. It really is. You can set your exposure, highlights, shadows, saturations, coloring. I'll go a little bit more into detail on those. But They're really easy to use. And if you want to take it a step further and make it even easier for yourself, download the app and then go buy Lightroom presets. And essentially what these Lightroom presets are, you just go through and pick which one has the right edits you want for the photo. It has all those edits already saved, the exposure, the highlights, the colors. So all you do is pick how you go through a list of them and you pick, oh, that one makes my photo look the best that I like it. And you don't have to do anything. You just export it back to your phone. Really easy. I'll go more into that too. So here are some examples. The photo on the left is just your typical photo. I got these off of Adobe stock, so I'm not entirely sure if this is an iPhone photo, but it's a really good example of an iPhone photo. It looks to me like it would be an iPhone photo based off of how it's exposing the room. But that's how your typical iPhone photo may look. But then when you switch it to the right, well, wow, that looks a lot better. That's because that's a Lightroom preset. And actually, that's a Lightroom preset I created specifically for real estate. So you would take your photo into Lightroom, and I think this one is just called the bright preset. Well, it completely enhanced the image. Now, one thing I really, really want to touch specifically here, very specifically, I might even repeat it twice. Doing these edits will not put you in violation of any laws. These are the kinds of edits that any professional real estate photographer would do to their photos. It does not change the way the room looks at all in regards to if someone were to walk into a room, well, this doesn't anything what the house looks like what I saw online. It does not do anything like that. We're not distorting. We're not taking out any like watermarks or damage or anything like that. It's just enhancing a picture to make it look more realistic to what it is when you walk into the room. So that one on the left, it's very dark and dingy, but the one on the right really brightens it up as if there were more natural light coming into the room or the lights were on or you were there, because your eyes compensate for light much better than cameras do. So the one on the right is going to be a little bit more realistic to what you would see coming into that room. It brings out the texture a little bit and the coloring in the flooring, but you can tell the color is not different. It's just brighter, and you can tell the detail much better. It looks like a sharper image. So let me give you a few more examples. Here's the one on the left. It's actually a really nice photo, but you would never realize how much better it could be until you add that Lightroom preset. It makes it look brighter and sharper. Really, that's a big one in this one. As you can tell how sharper it looks. It looks like a solid, sharp image that you would just see if you were standing right there. Whereas in the left one, almost like you had like a piece of film over your eye. And that is another Lightroom preset I've created that just slightly enhances and sharpens the image. And then here's a little video to kind of just show you an example. This is what the room looked like with the preset I added. So I'm going to take it back and I'm going to show you what it looked like without it. See, that's what it looked without, and then put the preset back on, and that's how it looks. You'll see it go back and forth. You can see the detail. It just looks a little brighter. The colors are all the same. I'm not changing the colors. I'm not changing the flooring. I'm just making it brighter, and it looks sharper. It just looks that much better. So we're going to the good, better, best, right? Your photo may be good, but make it better with a Lightroom preset or with editing on your own, and then take it a step further and make it best by getting a professional photographer. Okay, let's see if this will, there we go. All right, so now that you've got this great content, these great pictures, you post it to MLS, well, take it a step further and post it on social media. Great photos do really, really well on social media. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail with social media in my other presentation, but the 3 places I would focus on when having great photos is Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Instagram especially, you should never post anything on Instagram unless it looks great, because that's what Instagram is for. Instagram is for great photos. You would never actually think to post on Pinterest, but Pinterest is a great place to post your photos, especially if you get a really nice house that's really well balanced with light and there's all this great cute decor. What I would personally do if I were a realtor is I would take that photo, I would stamp my logo or name on the bottom of it with my website, and I'd put it on Pinterest. And all those moms who are constantly going on Pinterest trying to get ideas of how cute to make their house, well, they're going to see that and they're going to pin it for a later date or for an idea for how they want to decorate their house or for the type of house maybe that they want. And then when it gets time for them to buy, well, who are they going to contact? They've got that name right there sticking to that image when they go back to look at those pictures. You want your name to be on there. So do that. And then Facebook too, because it's important. Everybody's still on Facebook. Now, definitely join me in the social media class because we're going to go a lot more into detail on all of that. Some other apps to make it easier, GridPost, SquareFit, Canva, Snapseed, and Layout. SquareFit will just help resize your images for you so that they fit better on certain platforms. Like Instagram is only a 1x1, so you can change it with SquareFit. Canva is an online design program. It's really user-friendly, very, very user-friendly. And you can take your photos and do some really creative stuff with that. Snapseed is another editing program, but not my favorite. I've used it before. I still prefer Lightroom, but there is that option. I wanted to give you that option. Layout will let you take your photos and lay them out kind of in a collage for your social media. And GridPost is just taking one photo and creating 3 out of it, essentially. So if you wanted to go on your Instagram and put like 3 posts of the same image, so they all fit together on one row, that's what GridPost will do for you. So I wanted to go a little bit into myself here. I have my website, katiealvarez.com, where I said I created presets specifically for realtors and real estate. So you can go on there and buy my presets. And like I said, this makes it really simple for you. I have even updated this image. So instead of 7 presets with a Bright and Homey preset pack, you actually get 16. There's 16 different edits. But if you go on there, instead of $20, if you purchase today or in the next couple of days as a special thing for you coming to the conference, I've actually made it 15. I've dropped it $5. But you'll get essentially each preset for $1 and 1 free. And this is yours for life. And all these edits that you've seen today, we're using those presets. So those can all be yours. And there's even a page that says how to download them and how to use them. It's really easy. I've got a video and I've got written out steps for anybody that needs that. But use that to your advantage. It doesn't cost much and it's yours forever. And if you have any questions, you can always email me and I will help you figure out how to use it better. But I wanted to have that option for all of you because I think it will really help those photos to really enhance and hardly any work for you. Also, something else I offer is real estate photography and video, social media posting. I even do postcard mail out cards. I do the graphic design for those. So if that's something you're interested in, there's that card with my pricing. I even have that on my website, so you can check all of that out. And then, yeah, that's everything. So if you have any questions, here's my final contact information. That way you can get in touch with me at any time for anything. But if there are any questions, please feel free to let me know. Also answer the poll. There's the polls on the right. And that's all I have for you today. It's kind of tricky. There's not as much time as I would like to dive into things since this had to be 40 minutes or less. I would love to keep talking on and on about photography. I would even love to start telling you about video. That is one thing I do want to mention. If any questions are coming in, go ahead and send them in. But if you check out the vendor expo area, you'll see my vendor video there. You'll get a little idea of how I do video and photography there as well. My video was just filmed very quickly on my phone because it just was something, being a mom with a toddler in the house and everything that's going on, it's not easy to always do those things as nice as you want it to. But even I think if you compare that video to others, you'll notice that there's a huge difference in the quality of how the overall video looks and sounds. And honestly, what was the only difference? It was going to a well-lit area, holding my phone at an angle that was more appealing and just being very clear with my voice, and then taking the video and adding in images that really showcased more than what I could actually tell you. That's a big thing in social media is show, don't tell. And it works with these photos too. When you're going on MLS, show, don't tell. Your description is going to say great things, but I'll be honest, I'm not a realtor. And when I go and look at photos, half the time I'm not even reading those descriptions. I'm looking at the photos. The photos are really what sell me on a home, what sells me to want to go see a home. So I really hope you take all of these tips and tricks and put them into practice. Go use those presets, whatever you need to do to really just make your photos shine. Don't be those typical MLS photos anymore. If you really want to sell your homes quickly and you want them to really attract great buyers, make sure you're taking that little extra effort just to make those photos the best that they can be. So that's all I have. Thank you so much for joining me. This was so exciting and fun for me. I hope it was good for you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'm open to any questions sent. Just let me know that you're from the conference or that you saw my video and you're wondering about a couple things, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. So thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you for being here.